Today we are going to take a look at fair division. So we are starting with our general vocabulary and then we will get into some more details. So we have a little bit of pirate vocabulary here. The goods or the booty are the items that are being divided. So we could have physical objects with positive value, such as jewelry, art, land, or other items. We could have things that are intangible, like drilling rights, broadcast licenses, or other things. And we are going to use a capital S to denote the set of the goods or the booty, not individual items, but the entire set. So that's the first part of a fair division situation. The second are the players. So the players are a set of parties. It could be people, it could be countries, it could be companies, it doesn't matter, but whoever is entitled to a share of the booty. So we could have individuals, or institutions, or other entities. Then the third part of this situation is a value system. So each player has an internalized value system that gives it the ability to quantify the value of the booty or items that are a part of the set we're dividing. So each player will take a look at the items that we're dividing and assign value. So they could say something like, to me, that is worth a certain dollar amount, or to me, that is worth a certain percentage of the total value. And everyone is going to have different opinions on this. It is very subjective because you can take into account sentimental value, bragging rights, as well as legitimate monetary value. So those are the three parts of a fair division situation. Now, we also have some assumptions that we make when we start this process. So, some of our assumptions. One is rationality, meaning that each of the players is a thinking, rational agent seeking to maximize his or her share of the booty. So, your assumption is that the actions a player takes are based on reason. Okay? They are being selfish. They are trying to maximize what they get. They are not trying to sabotage other people. They're not letting emotions get involved. They are behaving according to a set of rules. Second is we are assuming cooperation. Players are willing participants who have accepted the rules of the game as binding. After a finite number of moves by the players, the game will end with a division of S, a division of the set of items. And there are no outsiders, like a judge or a referee, just the players and the rules that they have agreed to. We are also assuming privacy. Players have no useful information about the other players' value systems and what kind of moves they are going to make. Again, this goes back to not sabotaging the other players. And then our final assumption is symmetry. Players have equal rights in sharing our set of goods. So a consequence is that at a minimum, each player is entitled to a proportional share of S. So when that means when there are only two players, each player is entitled to half of the items or the value of the items. When there are three players, each player is entitled to a third, etc. And again, that value is determined by the individual player's value system. So if I think that a set of items is worth $100 and there are two players in this game, I am entitled to what I believe is at least $50 worth of whatever we're dividing up. If the other person thinks that my share is worth less than half, that's their opinion, but as long as I get what I perceive to be at least half, we're good. So here are some of the rules of fair division. So ultimately, the goal is to divide S into n shares and assign shares to players in such a way that each player gets a fair share, ensuring that each party is satisfied with the outcome. So whatever we're dividing up should be divided among all of the people who are entitled to a share so that everyone thinks that they have a fair share. Now, a fair share is, in the opinion of a player, of that player, has a value that is at least 1/nth of the total set. So, for example, if we have 4 players and S has been divided into 4 shares, so we use capital S to denote the entire set. We use lowercase s's with subscripts to denote the pieces. So whatever we're dividing up, we've divided it into 4 parts: S1, S2, S3, and S4. Right now we are looking from Bob's perspective. So Bob values S1 at 12%, S2 at 27%, S3 at 18%, and S4 at 43%. I don't care what anybody else's opinion of these 4 pieces are. We only care about Bob and his opinion at the moment. So which pieces are a fair share to Bob? Well, since there are 4 players, a fair share is going to be at least 25%. So Bob would be okay with share 2 or share 4. Obviously, he would prefer share 4 because that's worth the most in his opinion, but he would be okay with share 2. Shares 1 and 3 are worth less than a quarter of the total in his opinion, so he would not be okay with those. So when we look at these methods for fair division, they are a set of rules that tell you how we're playing this game. How are we dividing up the stuff? The booty and the players need to be considered along with the specific method by which we plan to accomplish the fair division. So there are several different fair division schemes or methods, and they're used in different situations. So the 3 main categories of fair division situations, which are frequently called games, are first, continuous. A continuous fair division game is a set of objects that is divisible, like land, cake, pizza. Like if you have 100 people, you can cut a cake into 100 pieces. They might be little pieces, but you can keep cutting them into smaller pieces. A discrete fair division game is when you have a set of objects that are indivisible. So for example, a painting, a house, a car, pieces of candy, etc. You cannot cut a house into pieces. Yes, you could share a house. Yes, you could sell the house and share the money, but the house in and of itself you cannot cut in half. Same thing with a car or a painting, or I guess a piece of candy you could sort of cut in half, but we're assuming now that one piece is indivisible. And then the last situation is a mixed fair division game, where you have some objects that are continuous and some objects that are discrete. So this would be an estate, like an inheritance, that has jewelry, a house, and land. The jewelry in the house would be discrete, the land would be continuous. So if you're looking at those together, then that is a mixed fair division game. We are going to focus on discrete fair division games because this class is discrete math. So let's, before we get into our first method, let's take a look at this example. Okay, we have 4 partners, Adam, Bob, Chris, and Dave, who own a piece of land. The land is subdivided into 4 parcels, S1, 2, 3, and 4. We have our table here that shows us how each of these partners value the different parcels of land. Okay, so we want to know which parcels are fair shares to Adam. So remember that because we have 4 players here, a fair share is going to be 1/4 or 25%. So anything that is at least 25% is acceptable. So for Adam, that means S1 and S4. Which pieces are fair shares to Bob? That would be S1 and S2. Chris, be S1 and S3. And Dave is only S4. So, assuming that we cannot divide these parcels farther, we want to know what would a fair division of the land be. So, to have a fair division of the land, everyone has to have gotten a fair share. Since there is only one piece of the land that is fair to Dave, Dave has to get that piece. So now S4 is taken care of. That means Adam only views S1 as fair. So once that is allocated, Bob has to get S2 and Chris has to get S3. That is the only way to divide up the land where each of these 4 partners gets what they view to be at least 25%.